All right. Good morning. It is 9:06. I'm Pamela Furr. Glad to be with you today. Making my move. We are ready to go today. Fired up, as they say, because it's Thursday. And you know what that means? Tomorrow's Friday.
Yes.
That's what that means. All right. Now, there are a lot of things to talk about today. I do want to get into this story that's out there that Donald Trump actually had an opportunity to negotiate with people, if you will, on those documents, and he declined to do so, which I think we actually already knew, but it's making some headlines really today. So we're going to talk about that. Adam Schiff, there was an opportunity to hold him accountable, and 20 Republican lawmakers didn't stand up. And so, therefore, the motion failed in the House of Representatives. Are you flippin' kidding me? Then you also have our very own Congressman Mark Green, who's going after Alejandro Mayorkas for dereliction of duty, and he's doing it in a 5-phase way. He made that announcement yesterday. We'll talk about that today. But before we get to any of that, and I didn't even talk to young Mac, the producer, about this, but when we talk about aliens, there's a theme song we play, and what is it? It's shoot! It's that TV show. Yes, thank you.
I got you.
I can't think of the name of the show. Well, anyway, the Las Vegas family who claims to have seen aliens in their backyard.
Yes.
Remember that story? They're now in lockdown on their property because they say people are threatening them who think they're engaging in an elaborate hoax. Now, first of all, let me just say this. What is wrong with people? Even if they are engaging in an elaborate hoax, why would you threaten them? Why would you? I mean, who cares?
Is it X-Files?
X-Files, thank you. Holy smokes, why couldn't I think of X-Miles? And it's also X-Files, not X-Smiles.
Yes,
What in the world am I think I'm Joe Biden. Oh, my goodness. I'm losing my brain. That's not even COVID fog. I think that's just Pamela just being dumb. Come on, man. All right, let's start. Take 2. All right, the X-Files. Why would anybody threaten a family if they thought they saw aliens land in their backyard? I mean, if anything, I would offer help. Can I get you a doctor? Can I get you a physician? Can I introduce you to the Bigfoot people? You know, all these things. Now, I'm being facetious here. I mean, maybe they did see something. The family, who have declined to reveal their identity, did speak to News Nation off camera that they are anxious and scared and now unwilling to leave their home. The father and 2 sons, they're sticking by their story. They contacted 911 on April the 30th, saying that there were 10-foot aliens in their backyard and that they had seen an object fall from the sky. Now, we talked about this on this show just a few weeks ago, didn't we? I mean, may have only been 2 weeks ago that we discussed this. Look, I believe there could be something out there. Absolutely 100%. Even as a fake Christian, as I've been called, I believe that God could have created other things besides human beings. I really do. Do I think I'll ever see them? Probably not until I get to heaven. I don't know. I think that if a 10-foot alien landed in my backyard, I would be stunned into stone. I don't think I could move. I would be so frightened and terrified. That's just, I just don't think I can handle it. But these 3 people say indeed 10-foot aliens landed in their backyard. A Vegas police officer's camera, as you recall, also picked up a green object in the sky at about 11:50 p.m., which has since, now here we go, it's since been explained, and I didn't know that till just this second, as a meteor by the American Meteor Association. So a green object from the sky was actually a meteor? Or is that just what they're telling us?
That is strange, though.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
There's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one is inside us, and it has big eyes, and it's looking at us, and it's still there. That's the son in the unnamed family. That's what the son told the police on that police call. In my backyard, I swear to God, this is not a joke. We're terrified. They're very large. They're 8 foot, 9 foot, 10 foot tall. They look like aliens. Big eyes. Like, I can't even explain it, and a big mouth. They're shiny eyes. They're not human. They're 100% not human. You know what I would do? I would actually talk to those, what do you call those people with the police that you give them a description of a person and they draw it out for you?
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I would give the description so they could draw it out for you and see if it's anything like we've ever seen before or if it's just like things you see on TV. Anyway, the officer, and we had audio of this the other day. I didn't know I was going to do the story. I just saw it pop up. The officer even said, I'm so nervous now about going on this particular call. I have butterflies, bro. Saw a shooting star, and now these people say there's aliens in their backyard. I don't believe in it, but what I saw right now, I do believe in that, one of the reported witnesses said to police. Robert Lunsford of the American Meteor Society told News Nation of the light that it was, quote, a meteor that was larger than normal, probably the size of a basketball up to a beach ball, traveling at tremendous speed. And when it strikes the atmosphere, it starts to vaporize, and that friction causes a very bright flash. We're certain it's a meteor because of the duration of the event. Most everybody reporting it say it lasted between 2 and 5 seconds. But that doesn't account for what landed in this family's backyard, does it? It's too fast for it to be a re-entering satellite or a rocket.
That we know of.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, under our technology.
When you're an alien, you may not be following the, human rules.
Yeah,
the earthbound rules. That is much too fast to be re-entering a satellite or a rocket. And the fact that it was seen over such a wide area is a darn good indication that it was a fireball. However, Ryan Burns, who's a podcaster and founder of Space Wolf Research, is among those who believes the family's account. He told News Nation that his own research in nearby Lake Mead suggests an extraterrestrial landing. Now, I'm going to make fun for a minute because God knows a podcaster's an expert. Okay, so, I had to throw that in there. Oh, I'll take his word for it. He's a podcaster.
That's where I get all my alien information. Yeah. It's the podcasting community.
It's the podcasting community. Now, look, there could be some genuine experts on podcasts talking about aliens, but most people who do, I hate to say this, there are a million podcasts out there, right? Most people who do a podcast, they're just like you and me. I'm a radio broadcaster. I shouldn't put myself in that category.
Come on, we're a little different.
We're a little different than that. We're professionals. We get paid to do this.
I've got 6 weeks till mine launches, so I'll let you know.
Wait a minute. Are you doing a podcast?
Yes,
Seriously?
I am.
Now I'm insulting Mac, the podcaster.
No, it's fine. You're right. For the most of them, that's the way it is.
But no, seriously. They'll put the whole trend of podcasting has become, I'm going to do a podcast. And then you go to your friends and go, would you like to be on my podcast? And your friends will say, sure, I'll be on your podcast if you'll be on my podcast. Okay, great. Yep. So everybody's got a podcast that about 10 people listen to. That's the podcasting community right now. And so you've got over 1 million of them out there. So what you have to do is find a way to, get out in front and be one of those that people seek out. That's what you have to. That would be my advice, by the way, to you young Mac. But let's get back to the story. I digressed really, really badly here. The American Meteor Society, they say they're almost certain the green light caught on the police footage was a meteor. The area of the alleged sighting was searched and witnesses interviewed, but no new information was found and no one found any 10-foot aliens. The Las Vegas Police Department has since closed the case, but the incident has gotten so much attention after a former intelligence officer turned whistleblower recently claimed the U.S. has a trove of parts and equipment from non-human origin UFOs that have crash landed on Earth. So you take that story that came out, then you take the Las Vegas story that came out, and you've got a bunch of people going, this is very interesting. David Charles Grush, how do you say his name? Grusch, Grush, and the U.S. and other nations are also engaged in top secret operations that attempt to reverse engineer the pieces to create weapons. Wow. This David Grush guy also claims that the information has been illegally withheld from Congress as the government tried to hide the fines, which are involved in an 80-year arms race to take advantage of the technology. He told the debrief, we're not talking about prosaic origins or identities. The materials includes intact and partially intact vehicles. And let me stress this again. Non-human origin, this guy's saying. He doesn't seem to be a nut. He served in Afghanistan and worked for the National, let me get this right, Geospatial Intelligence Agency and National Reconnaissance Office, has handed over details of the alleged operations to Congress and the Intelligence Community Inspector General. Again, he doesn't seem to be a nut. He seems to have the credentials. Yeah. He's also filed a complaint against the Department of Defense and claims he's been ostracized for his decision to just blow the whistle, which, by the way, you can't do. That's illegal. He's a 36-year-old, so he's a young man who worked on the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force from 2019 to 2021. So again, doesn't seem to be a nut at all, seems to actually have his you-know-what together, and that's the alleged information that he's released. In the meantime, this family in Las Vegas says they're getting threatened. This family in Las Vegas says people are ticked off because they're accusing this family of staging some sort of elaborate hoax. And I don't know how you could say that. They're just telling you what they saw. And I don't know why that would make you violent and want to threaten a family. That's just threaten a family.
Yeah,
come on, man.
Come on, man.
All right. It is 9 to. I had to share that because we had talked about it, a couple of weeks ago. I still find this very, very interesting. And what's sad is that these folks are going to feel like they're victimized by aliens and their lives are never going to be the same. They're probably going to need some therapy along the way. That's a shame. And nothing to show for it except for 911 calls and then threats from their neighbors. Good grief. All right, 9:20. I am Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
More Americans found dead in a Mexican hotel room, and another Republican candidate enters the presidential race. I'll have those stories and more at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Does that make us at number 27 for presidential candidates there, Jay?
Well, this is a rather unique candidate, I will say that.
Okay.
Again, we'll fill you in here in just a bit.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. By the way, it's Election Day here in Nashville. Did y'all know that? No? Crickets?
That's it. Yeah.
Representative. Yeah,
There you
exactly. Justin Jones. He's running to regain his House seat officially. And so today he is running, right? So the polls opened at 7 o'clock this morning for District 52. So if you live in District 52, you can reelect Justin Jones if you want to, or you can vote for the Republican candidate. Her name is Laura Nelson, who, in my opinion, and I'm just going to say it, I'm going to call her out, I don't think she wants to win. We tried very hard to get her on the show. And she said, I don't think so, not right now. We'll let you know. So how are you going to get any traction? No one knew you were running against Justin Jones. And Justin Jones wanted it that way, by the way. Of course he did.
100%.
So, so what'd you put your hat in the ring for if you didn't want to do what it takes to win? And part of that is name recognition.
And you'd think this platform would be...
Hello,
Come
Laura
on.
Nelson. Anyway, that's who's running against Justin Jones. He was reappointed to the seat by Metro Council after do I need to remind you? After he and Justin Pearson were expelled from the House of Representatives last month. The polls will close tonight at 7 p.m. If you don't know if you live in District 52 or not, first of all, no offense, but shame on you. But you can go. There is an app. In fact, I've got it on my phone. At least I had it on my phone. Where did it go? It's called Go Vote Tennessee. And you can download it to your phone, put your address in there, and it'll tell you what district you're in for city council. Here it is. Go vote. So, or wherever you are actually in the state. It doesn't have to just be Nashville, but we're talking about Nashville right now. So it'll tell you all of your information, your voter information, who your candidates are, or who your people are, what district you're in. I'm in District 6 when it comes to the U.S. House. I'm in District 20 for the Tennessee Senate, 60 for the Tennessee House. For Nashville, I am District 11 in Nashville when it comes to the local stuff. So you can see all that on your phone app called Go Vote Tennessee. It's real easy to do if you don't know. So anyway, there you go. So now is your opportunity. If you live in District 52, and I know it's going to be an uphill climb from my understanding. Yeah, we are in Nashville. But if you are a Republican, even though Laura Nelson didn't really do a whole lot to get elected, you can still vote for her since she's running against Justin Jones, and at least try to take that seat back if you can. So there you go. It is Election Day in Nashville in this special election for District 52. The polls close at 7 tonight. We'll keep you posted on that election. I guess throughout the day, if there's any news, it's probably, it's probably crickets. It's probably not a lot of people.
Polls close at 7.
Yep. All right. It's time for news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 9:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got sunshine, and we're up to 77 degrees. A full forecast is on the way. Authorities in Mexico are investigating the deaths of 2 Americans in a luxury hotel. It happened at Hotel Rancho Pescadero, a Hyatt property in Baja, California. The suspected cause of death, gas inhalation. Paramedics were called when 2 unconscious people were found in a hotel room. When they arrived, they found 22-year-old Abby Lutz from Newport Beach, California, and 41-year-old John Heathgo. They were both deceased. Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, he's jumping into the race for the Republican presidential nomination.
I'm the only Hispanic candidate in both parties who's running. I think that's incredibly important because 20% of the country is made up of Hispanics.
More American cities dealing with Canadian wildfire smoke. It's been really bad in the Minneapolis area today. The air quality there yesterday was even worse. It was the worst on record since 1980, registering 243 on the air quality index. That falls under the very unhealthy level. That is the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. There was a recent study by J.D. Power looking at how happy investors were with their advisors, and it wasn't pretty. What they found was only 11% of the respondents said that they were getting comprehensive financial planning, that the fees were clear, and that they felt that the advisor was acting in their best interest. Not a good picture, 11%. Now, one of the things that we do is we do comprehensive planning. We fit all of those bills, number one. But one of the things I want to talk about is in the financial planning process, what I think it ought to look like and what is available that people aren't getting. And one of the things is called probability analysis. So in essence, this is what we're talking about. We're trying to accumulate money for retirement. Put money aside, hoping that we'll have enough so that we can have income throughout retirement. And what we find is that people have Social Security, they have pensions in their financial plan, and they also have investments. Now, with their investments, we want to do something very specific that it really requires quite an academic background to do this. And this is where we look at the cost of capital of the various things that you own in your investment portfolio. It sounds scary, it sounds really detailed, but here's the idea. Is if we look at various asset classes like large stocks and small stocks and large value and bonds and so on and so forth, we know the expected return or the cost that these entities have to pay to use your money. So we can come up with an expected return of the portfolio. We can also come up with what's called standard deviation, or how much that portfolio return may deviate from the expected return. Now that's a whole other video, but what I want to do is show you how we use this. If I look at a financial plan and I say, well, you got this area, this area, this area, what I can do is I can say, well, based on when you want to retire, this is how much income you can take, and here's the likelihood of being able to have this income survive throughout your entire life. And the way it works is this. If I take a portfolio and say, there's the expected return, I can look at history and say, well, the way your portfolio is designed, how might your one-year returns vary from the expected return, the long-term expected return? Well, what we know from academic research is that portfolios well designed and properly managed in ways that I can't get into right now, it's too complicated, portfolios actually close in an expected return, but we don't know what the short-term returns are going to be. So what we do is we project out and say, well, what if the return that happened in 1936 is followed by the return that happened in 1975, which is followed by the return in 1995, or what if it's reversed? What if they happen in different orders? And we can do 1,000 iterations, different variations on when those and how those returns may come in. And what that does is, because we can't predict the future, what return is going to follow the other, we can figure out, is it likely that we are going to be able to take the income that we need throughout retirement from this portfolio? And if not, how can we rearrange the furniture or the portfolio to give us a higher likelihood of success? And we look at life expectancies, we look at a lot of different things, but this is what is available to people that they're not getting from the financial planning community. If you want to know more, go to paulwinkler.com, set up a free 15-minute phone call, paulwinkler.com, and come in and find out more about what we do.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 9:37. I am Pamela Furr. Thank you for being with us today. A whole lot going on today. I mean, a whole lot. This is a headline. We'll get into this later in the show, but 42% of CEOs say AI could destroy humanity by 2033. So I was doing some math. Wait a minute. So that's 10 years from now, right? So I'll still be a young woman.
Yes, a young, thriving.
And so this scares me. Do you have a plan? That's the question. I've always said have a plan for when the zombie apocalypse happens. Well, it's not going to be the zombie apocalypse. It's going to be the AI apocalypse, for crying out loud. So do you have a plan? That is the question. Every family should have a plan for disasters. And this one is now starting to scare me more and more. I just, I need to stop looking at stories
don't think about it.
AI because that is what keeps me up at night. All right.
I know my plan will include lots of potted meat.
Well, I mean, you can't destroy potted meat.
Yeah, it won't go bad. I'll be good.
We were talking about that earlier. There's some Vienna sausage hanging out in the newsroom for some reason. And so just cans of it. And so I made the statement, don't throw that away. You need to just put that in a drawer somewhere because one of these days when you're stuck at the radio station and there's no food and you can't leave and everything's closed down, you're going to be hungry. And you're going to want that Vienna sausage. Now, I don't know if any Twinkies are in the building, but Twinkies will also survive zombie or AI apocalypse, I believe. What's the plural of apocalypse? Apocalypses? At any rate, those are the things that will actually survive. All right, there are other things to get into today, other things to discuss. 615-737-9986 is the phone number. Is Ron wanting to talk about the AI and the zombie apocalypse?
I don't know for sure what Ron's
All
wanting
right,
to
let's
talk
go
about.
with Ron.
Okay,
and
we'll
then,
go with Ron.
Then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Bill Barr and comments that Bill Barr made on Fox News regarding the documents in Mar-a-Lago and the charges facing former President Donald Trump. Bill Barr argues it's not the documents that has gotten Donald Trump in trouble. It's the obstruction of justice that has gotten Donald Trump in trouble. And that's what the bigger issue is here. So we're going to talk about that. But Ron's on the line, 615-737-9986. Hi, Ron.
How you doing today, Pamela?
I'm great. Are you wanting to talk about the zombie apocalypse?
Well, I want to tell you that it's going to be okay. You belong to the Lord, and He will take care of you. Don't be worried. Don't be stressed. All this is supposed to happen. Whenever the Lord comes and gets us, they're going to blame it on aliens. I'm telling you, everything is lined up. He's coming soon. So you just need, you belong to the Lord. I know you get a little antsy sometimes. You listen to you for years. So just know the Lord has got you.
Get a little anxious.
And, a little anxious. That's okay. That's part of being a redhead.
All right, my coffee almost just went all over the console here. All right, Ron, thank you for your good nature. Thank you for your good heart. And I appreciate the phone call. The truth of the matter is everything's going to be fine. It's going to be all right. Technology always advances, but I don't know of technology that advances that will take on a life of its own and could possibly decide to destroy you or not. But other than that, everything is going to be quite okay. No, truth of the matter is AI does fascinate me. And in fact, at some point, I do want to have someone on the air who's written a book about faith and artificial intelligence. At some point, I don't know that the book is out yet, but it's going to be very, very soon. So I want to have a discussion with him. He's very, very intelligent. He's also a pastor, and he's also a former pastor of mine. And I think it would just be very enlightening to talk about all of that. Well, I guess Chris wants to talk about it as well. One more, and then we're going Bill Barr. Hi, Chris. Welcome to WTN.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fantastic. How are you?
Pretty good. Just listening to your comment about AI. I think AI is going to be our solution to Social Security.
How is it going to be a solution to our Social Security?
Well, you said if it could possibly wipe out humanity by 2033. Well, Social Security is predicted to be insolvent by 2035. So if we just wipe out humanity, Social Security will never be insolvent.
Okay.
That's our politicians
that
at work for you.
doesn't give me any peace, Chris. Doesn't make me feel any better.
but it is effective. Thanks for all you do. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Well, since we're here, here's the story. Artificial intelligence could lead to the destruction of humanity. Some of the biggest names in technology have warned. We've heard from Elon Musk, by the way, about that before. You've heard some folks say that to members of Congress before as well. Well, this was a dramatic statement signed by international experts that say AI should be prioritized alongside other extinction risks such as nuclear war and pandemics. Signatories include dozens of academics, senior bosses at companies including Google, DeepMind. I've never heard of DeepMind. The co-founder of Skype, Sam Altman, chief executive of ChatGPT maker OpenAI, which, by the way, I've been using OpenAI to help me write some scripts for the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame. Anyway, it's actually pretty interesting and fascinating. Another signatory is Jeffrey Hinton, who's sometimes named the godfather of AI, who recently resigned from his job at Google. That's the one that testified before Congress. He recently resigned from his job at Google, saying that bad actors will use new AI technologies to harm others, and that the tools he helped to create could spell the end of humanity. He's the guy. I guess in essence, he would be the guy, if you've watched the Terminator movies, that they went back in time to eliminate, right?
Yes. He would be it.
He would be the guy. The short statement says mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. Dr. Hinton spent his career researching the uses of AI technology and in 2018 received the Turing Award. Recently told the New York Times the progress made on AI technology over the last 5 years has been, quote, scary. And I would agree with that 125%. The statement was published on the website of the Center for AI Safety. Didn't know there was a website called the Center for AI Safety. I will now be searching that at night when I am home and alone and scared. That's where I will be. It said AI in warfare could be extremely harmful as it could be used to develop new chemical weapons and enhance aerial combat. Absolutely. I mean, I can see those pictures in my head already. Lord Rees, the UK's astronomer royal, probably pronounced royale, who signed the statement, also told the Daily Mail, I worry less about some super intelligent takeover than about the risk of over-reliance on large-scale interconnected systems. That's a very good point. This is a powerful statement. These can malfunction through hidden bugs and breakdowns and could be hard to repair. Now think about that. You're in the middle of war. You're doing your thing. And because these systems are all interconnected and whatnot, what is the first thing that will happen? What happens with technology, let's say at a radio station like this? Computer malfunction. Oops, got to reboot. Or a card went bad. We've got to do whatever. Internet's down. Can't do anything because the internet's down, and it causes major problems. Think about that. If you are completely reliant on technology, which every day we are more and more, that's what Lord Rees is more afraid of than actual AI taking us out. He's more worried about all the systems that are connected, and one little bug in there can shut the whole thing down. So let's just say you're in the middle of a war and you're shooting your enemy using AI, and the system goes down. You're screwed. War over.
This is our AI theme song now.
Oh, my goodness. large-scale failures of power grids, the internet, and so forth can cascade into catastrophic societal breakdown. That is his warning, Lord Reese. He's right. Didn't I say on this show not too long ago that I am not doom and gloom?
Yes,
I think I lied. Oops. I misspoke.
Sorry.
I do believe I misremembered. All right. AI has already been used to blur the boundaries between fact and fiction with deep fake photographs, videos purporting to show famous people. What are they? They're using AI technology. I read this story the other day. I think Dan Mandis and the Gang of Three actually talked about this. But they are, Jay, you were probably a part of it. They are going to reproduce, they're going to come out with a new album with the Beatles using AI-produced voice of John Lennon from a demo he did, right?
Right. It's not an album. It is just one.
Just a song?
Yes, one lone song. And Paul McCartney is apparently working with artificial intelligence to produce this song again.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and we played it. Dan played it the other morning, and frankly, it's not a very good song.
But you're listening to the demo.
Yeah, true.
Once they,
and the demos, they noodle around on those things, and that's what it sounds like. So,
did it sound like John?
Because it was John. That old tape was John.
Yes,
okay,
it was.
So they weren't making new.
No, just Lennon and a piano, and
Okay,
it sounded like a cassette recorder was across the room.
Sure. Because they didn't have anything else at the time, and
makes
so
sense.
yeah. Well, I mean, I also at one point was going to talk to a professor out at Belmont who uses AI in recording studios and teaches students how to do that. I mean, what we're facing even in the Music City when you're talking about AI technology, you're talking about copyrights, you're talking about using an artist's voice. I believe I also read that there's a radio station somewhere in this country that is using an AI voice completely for what they're doing. Not just somebody who sounds a bit robotic, but an actual AI voice and an AI character all together.
Yeah, there are a handful of stations that have begun that.
That is, first of all, it's putting people like you and me and Mac and out of business. Of course, automation did that a long time ago, too. But this is just the next step, the next progression in all of that. And that's just on the recording side, professional side. We originally were talking about how AI would obliterate humans off the face of the earth, and that's what's scaring a lot of people. All right. Now, when we come back, I swear, we're going to talk about Bill Barr, and he is trying to get everybody focused on really what these charges are against Donald Trump. You can agree with him or disagree with him, but he says it's not about the documents anymore. It's about obstruction of justice at this point. So that's coming up in just a moment. Stick around in about 5 minutes, in fact. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 615-737-9986 to call, or you can super text us there as well.
There are reports that a deal between former President Trump and the DOJ was proposed to avoid charges. We'll have more on that story. And a Metro Council meeting took place last night. We'll let you know what was discussed there. We'll have those stories at the top of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Jay Harper. I appreciate that. We only have about 2 minutes left in this segment. I thought I'd be able to get to the Bill Barr stuff, so I now will have to do that at 10:05. So be listening for that. Andre, I know you're on the line and you want to talk about it, and we certainly will. But Lane, I think, is on the line, who is actually an IT worker that has a comment about AI technology and perhaps AI taking out humanity. Hi, Lane.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
I appreciate it. No, just and listening to some of the conversation. I'm not an AI specialist, but I do work in IT. A number of the systems, the important systems, would have what we would call redundant support, meaning like you have two systems
Sure.
that support the same piece of software.
Sure.
Right. So if it goes down, the other one takes over. Where AI AI is essentially getting machines to do our work for us. Right.
Right.
And so the more
Artificial intelligence, yeah.
Exactly. And just as the car put a lot of people out of business that were driving buggies and making buggy whips and things like that, I think there will be some shift in jobs.
Sure.
Where I kind of worry about it is you can already go online and you can create an AI bot with your voice, and you have to do it, sign a waiver. And that can call your bank, or you can call your bank with that voice, and it will pass the voice test. But I do kind of worry about someone creating a bot using someone else's voice and maybe using it to make a recording of them agreeing to criminal activity.
There's a story that I think it was out yesterday that I saw where a mother had experienced someone who was just very cruel. They were trying to extort money out of her. They were able to find their child's voice. I want to say TikTok, don't mark me on that, but somewhere on socials, a child had done some sort of video, so the child's voice was there, and AI, whoever this criminal was, used AI technology to reproduce that voice and have that voice call this mother to say, I've been kidnapped, I'm in trouble, unless you pay this kind of money, they're going to hurt me. And it was this child's actual voice. Is that not sick?
Yeah, that is, and I think we can outlaw that, and I think people will still be able to get around that. So those are the things that worry me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how we get around it.
It's scary times we live in. There's always, and Lane, I got to go on that note. If you hear that music, that means I'm out of time. So I'm going to have to let you go. Thank you very much for calling, though. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you listening. 615-737-9986. News is next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 10:01, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got sunshine. We're up to 78 degrees, and we'll have a full forecast here in just a couple of minutes. Long before last week's indictment in the classified documents case, former President Trump reportedly rejected the idea of arranging a settlement with the DOJ. That's according to the Washington Post. Here's Justin Finch.
The Post says Trump attorney Christopher Kise wanted to quietly approach the Justice Department last fall to broker a deal that would avoid charges. The deal would have included returning all the documents. Trump was reportedly not interested. In the meantime, sources say Trump is narrowing down a list of potential new lawyers for the case, but with no court date set yet, they've been able to take their time.
One of the problems has been a lot of...
Well, I apologize for that technical difficulty. Let's get to the next story here. On Wednesday, Metro Nashville leaders gathered for the first of 3 meetings that are scheduled this month to discuss ways to keep Nashville's students safer in the wake of the Covenant School shooting. News 2's Chris O'Brien is reporting on some of the challenges that are facing Metro Public Schools and safety.
One of the problems has been a lot of school resource officer vacancies, meaning some middle and high schools haven't had an SRO every day. The school's director, Dr. Adrian Battle, said last night police committed to filling those vacancies this fall when their new recruitment class starts. She also said Metro's piloting an upgrade to their security cameras so they can detect weapons. As soon as an armed person walks into view of the camera, it sends an alert. Metro plans to have 1,300 cameras across the district. And finally, the district plans to install shatter-resistant film in school buildings.
That is the latest news. Weather's on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 11:05. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad to have you on board today. Thursday, mostly sunny, gorgeous day out there today. I don't think we have any smoke, any haze from Canada, but if we do, we will certainly bring that to you. I'm hearing that places like Chicago and Minnesota are feeling the haze once again from those fires in Canada. So God bless them. Say little prayers for them. It's also election day in Nashville. Just want to remind you of that. Today, if you live in District 52, you can head to the ballot box and vote for your new state rep, or you can keep your old one named Justin Jones. It's up to you, whatever you'd like. There is someone running against Justin Jones. Her name, and she is a Republican, she says. Her name is Laura Nelson. Never heard of her, don't know what she does. Reached out some time ago to have her on the show. She declined. Don't know why. We're going to try another way to get our name out to the masses, I guess is what she said. So you can vote for Laura Nelson, the Republican, or you can vote for Justin Jones, the Democrat agitator, the Democrat instigator, who caused all that problem in our legislature last general session. Or you can vote for Laura Nelson, who you've never heard of, who I guess was knocking on doors in the district to get her name out. I don't know. But she is the Republican. So that is the alternative to chaos and Justin Jones. But the polls close at 7 o'clock tonight. So if you live in District 52, here's your chance. Meanwhile, let's move on to this. As you well know, former President Donald Trump has been indicted. Yes? Yes. And William Barr believes that perhaps Donald Trump is toast after this indictment, after an unsealed indictment alleged that the former president violated the Espionage Act, which I think is overkill, but I digress. It also alleges that Donald Trump purposely misled the government and obstructed justice to retrieve classified documents. So William Barr believes that's what's going to get the president. Not the fact that he had the records, but that he tried to obstruct. Now, Mark Levin, who's on this radio station every night, well, Monday through Friday nights here on WTN, was also on Sean Hannity not too long ago saying it's the Presidential Records Act because he, Donald Trump, is the executive branch. He's the executive branch, so he doesn't have to rely on a subordinate. Here are the regulations. This is the way you do it. His powers come from the Constitution. He is a third branch of government. He alone, everything flows from him. Well, Bill Barr disagrees with that and appeared with Brett Baer on Fox News, I do believe, yesterday. I need my computer up there, my friend. You ready? All right, here we go.
Records Act covers what they're seeing here. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think the position is being taken that this is really just a document dispute over custody of documents, and the president has good arguments as to why he should have kept them. I think the arguments are farcical and will be shown as such, but I also think more importantly they're sidelighted and they're distracting from the real issue. The president is being prosecuted here because it's an obstruction case, and he's in trouble for what he did after he got the subpoena. If he thought he had arguments that these were his documents, there are many things he could have done to raise those arguments. He could have moved to quash the subpoena. He could have given the documents to the government and then sued to bring him back and made his legal arguments as to why they're really his. But he didn't do that. What did he do? He engaged in an outrageous act of obstruction and deception that obstructed that
Allegedly.
Subpoena. And that is wrong. That's a law. That's a violation of law. That's a serious problem for him. What he did was, according to the indictment, he took a lot of the boxes away, hid them from his lawyer, told his lawyer to go and search what remained, and then caused that lawyer to file a statement of the court saying that there had been a complete search. And if anyone did that, that would be obstruction. So that is why I think the Justice Department pulled the trigger, and that's the central part of this case. So talking about whether he had the right to have the documents or not, while it's ridiculous, it's a sideshow. He has you cannot defend what he did with that subpoena.
But using the Espionage Act to make the decision at first to go after him like this, you think is justified?
Well, people are calling the law against willfully retaining national defense information.
Even though it's the President of the United States. At the time, he's leaving with it as the President of the United States.
Yeah, that was a reason. That is a sound charge. That is right. He did not have the right to keep those documents, and he jerked the government around for a year. Put yourself in the government's position. You don't know what he has. He can have, and you don't know what's at risk. They needed to see that stuff. Mm-hmm. What are they to do? But I think that was a legitimate charge. But I don't think they would have charged it had he given the documents back. It was the
now that okay. I'm going to stop him right there. I actually do agree with that statement that he just made. I actually agree that had Donald Trump just given him back, like some other presidents have done, if he'd have just given him back, we wouldn't be here right now. And in fact, there's an article out here that says that Donald Trump was repeatedly advised by his lawyers over the course of 2 years to return documents to authorities, but he stubbornly refused. His attorney, Christopher Kise, who represented Trump in court on Tuesday when he was arraigned, tried to persuade Trump to settle in the fall of 2022. This is according to the Washington Post. Kise told others he wanted to take the temperature down. Let's just not get all crazy here. Let's take the temperature down, speak directly to the Attorney General, promising him a professional and swift return of the files. But Trump was persuaded, apparently, by other allies, such as Judicial Watch and Tom Fenton at Judicial Watch, to fight efforts to reclaim the papers. Kise never approached Garland, and shortly after, special counsel Jack Smith was appointed to investigate the saga. It was a totally unforced error. A source close to Trump told the Post, "We didn't have to be here." That's interesting. I've heard a lot of people actually say that. And if Donald Trump did jerk people around, as Bill Barr is describing, and put some of his lawyers in a position of making false statements, that's not good. That's not where we want to be here with Donald Trump going into a presidential election. Now, back it all back, do I certainly believe that Joe Biden is using the Justice Department to go after a presidential opponent? 100%. But it bothers me. I've said it here before. I'll say it again. Donald Trump gives them the ammunition. Does he not? And in this case, that could be what's happening here. It's the obstruction. It's the hiding. It's the lying. It's not being honest. It's not the actual act that has caused this problem. It's the possibility of obstruction. I used to date a guy who was in the military, and he was looking for a higher clearance. He was going to work for the CIA. This has been a long time ago. And he said, there's a possibility, Pamela, that you're going to be asked some questions. They're going to come interview you about me. And he had one little thing, in his past a long time ago. And he said, if they ask you questions about that, don't lie about it. You got to tell them, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to know about it anyway. So don't try to ever lie on my behalf. Don't ever try to just be honest. Just be upfront when you're talking about the government, because 9 times out of 10, they're already going to know. I don't know why I just brought that up, but I think it applies. You don't try to cover anything up. That's where most of Donald Trump's people who have been charged in the past, it's because they tried to lie about whatever it was they were involved in. It wasn't what they were involved in that was getting them into trouble. It was actually lying about it that was getting them into trouble. It was trying to cover up whatever it is they were there to discuss that would get them into trouble. You know what I'm saying here. Gary Stern, counsel at the National Archives, asked the former president's team for the return of documents, apparently, in January of 2020, had taken presidential papers with him, and it's been requested that they were returned by the fall of 2021. The spring, they asked, bring it back. By the fall of 2021, Alex Cannon, who at the time was a Trump lawyer, told his client he needed to give them back and warned that the archives was threatening to go to Congress or the Justice Department if he didn't return them. He eventually returned 15 boxes to the National Archives in January of 2022. Yet more remained, and Trump was ticked off by repeated attempts to get him to hand over the rest. 7 people with knowledge of the probe indicate he misled his own advisors, telling them the boxes contained only newspaper clippings and clothes. And maybe some of them did. maybe some of that is the truth. In April of 2022, he was issued in a subpoena to force him to return them, and his new attorney, Evan Cochran, told him he had to comply. Fenton and another guy ultimately proved more influential from the Judicial Watch and convinced Trump he could legally hold on to the documents. So now we've got a fight. Fenton told the Washington Post he felt the charges against Trump filed on Tuesday were weak and a convincing case had not been made. And maybe Tom Fenton's right. I respect Tom Fenton very much so from the Judicial Watch. He goes on to tell the Post, I think what is lacking is the lawyers saying I took this to be obstruction. Where's the conspiracy? I don't understand any of it. I think it's a trap. This is Tom Fenton. They had no business asking for the records, and they've manufactured an obstruction charge out of that. So his argument is they didn't have the right to ask for the records in the first place. So out of that, now it's obstruction. There are core constitutional issues that the indictment avoids, and the obstruction charge seems weak to me. So you have a well-respected Tom Fenton and you have a well-respected Bill Barr at the opposite sides of this here. And so Donald Trump is following Tom Fenton and those folks as opposed to the ones that are saying, no, you got to give it back and you can't obstruct justice here. And now we have a fight in court. Now we're looking at a presidential election with an indicted former president of the United States wanting to be your president again. And right now, by the way, if all polls are correct, he's going to get the nomination for the Republican Party. No one's coming even close, at least certainly not at this point in all of this. And his fundraising is way up after being indicted. So everybody's playing games here with politics. Everybody's playing games here with the presidential election. Both sides are. And this is where we are on June the 15th, 2023. By the way, it's 615 day, by the way.
Woo!
It's 1019 615 737 9986. That's the phone number. I know Andre is on the phone. He wants to talk about Bill Barr. Andre, I'll take your phone calls next, and anybody else that wants to get on the line, 615 737 9986. You can also super text us as well. I'm Pamela Furr on 615 Day on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
America's top diplomat headed to China tomorrow, and a USDA crackdown on how meats are labeled. I'll have those stories at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Meats are labeled good. Bad. That would work for me. All right. Thank you very much, Jay. We're looking forward to your newscast coming up at 10:30. 615-737-9986 is the phone number. 615-737-9986. We are talking about the possibility that Donald Trump may have obstructed justice. I mean, that's what he's being charged with, along with 36 other charges. But Bill Barr says that's the one that's going to bite him in the butt. And there are other articles out there saying this is the one that's going to bite him in the butt. Now, is that the case? Is that what's going to happen? Or is he going to win this game? Tom Fenton with Judicial Watch is someone who has been advising Donald Trump, and he believes that the case against him is super weak. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Daniel, who's on the line. Hey, Daniel, welcome to WTN.
Miss Pamela Furr, how you doing today?
I'm fine, Daniel. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm a long-time listener. First things first, rest in peace, Uncle Phil Valentine. He is sorely missed.
Amen.
All right, so I want to talk about what you said about the ammunition, how Donald Trump gives them ammunition. I disagree with that. Let's not forget ever since he came down the escalator, the Democrats have been manufacturing their own ammunition.
Don't disagree.
We should not be afraid. We should not be afraid of the Democrats. We need to stick it to them.
Yeah, not
we
afraid.
Need to put we need to put our full support behind Donald John Trump. Let's not forget all the good things he's done for us. His first term, he deserves the second. To hell with all these charges. We need our full support behind Donald Trump.
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel, but I think you're missing my point. I appreciate the call, though. Let's go to Andre, who's on the line. Hey, Andre.
Hey, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Well, here's the thing. I'm as non-biased as you can find, first off. I'm an independent. I've been watching this very carefully here. Now, remember, Bill Barr is not speaking for Donald Trump. He's speaking for the government. He's not making any points on Donald Trump's defense.
Sure.
The one word that is never mentioned here, which is what our laws are based upon, and that's intent. Now,
right.
He's not talking about the obstruction thing because he knows that they could never, ever prove intent on the espionage legislation from 1917. They cannot prove that because Donald Trump's complete, behavior shows the exact opposite. He wanted to make the military stronger. He's against China. He's against our adversaries. So they can never prove that he took documents with the intent for espionage. It's ridiculous.
It's 100%.
If they even go to that argument, it will be absurd because we know that's absolutely not the case. So now it's jumping to this obstruction thing, and Bill Barr is hammering on that because he knows the intent with espionage is not going to happen. It's just not there. You have to have evidentiary matter for that, and he has none. They have none. Okay? All they have is the documents. The documents is not the issue. It's the intent behind the document.
Right.
Because Donald Trump said himself, I don't know what kind of, right?
What was I going to say?
What is about the obstruction that he refused to return them, correct?
I was going to say that you can't deny that once he was asked for the documents, that Donald Trump certainly may have tried to play a few games.
Correct.
That's what I was going to say.
However, let's explore the intent behind that. Donald Trump is, as he said himself, he's stubborn. You know why he's stubborn? Because he is standing up for his constitutional right as a president, not to obstruct. He's standing for his constitutional right as a president to have a right to those documents, to declassify them if he wanted to. We're still going to get to them, he said, because he doesn't know what was all in the boxes.
Sure.
So his stubbornness is not to obstruct justice. You can't obstruct a justice if there's not a crime proven or shown.
So here's what I would say, though, Andre, and I'm with you 100%. But being as stubborn as he is, and maybe had he not played games with these guys, they wouldn't have gone after him so hard. I'm asking, I'd really like to be able to finish my sentence.
Really?
If you would just think about that for a minute, would we be here? And maybe we would. They've gone after him since the moment he decided to run for president. But would we be here, and would he be facing these many charges if he would have just cooperated with those who are investigating?
Well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Okay. Do you believe in your constitutional rights?
Of course I do.
Okay. So say a police officer is telling you to do something and you feel it's unlawful and impeding on your constitutional right.
Mm-hmm.
Are you just going to keel over and be a pushover and go, okay, go ahead, violate my rights. I'm okay with
so
that.
What
or are you going to go, hey, wait a second.
So I am going to allow a police officer, if he's trying to arrest me and I believe he's wrong, I'm going to comply because that's what you do with police, and then I sue him.
Mm-hmm. But there you're being a pushover in that instance.
I'm not getting shot. That's what I'm doing. Thank you. Andre, I'm going to put you on hold for a second because it is 10:30, so I'm going to have to. I'm not cutting you off. But I am going to have to put you on hold because it's time for news. Look, I know people say, but you got to stand up for your constitutional rights. A lot of people have tried to stand up for their constitutional rights when it comes to police. So I don't think this particular argument with Andre applies to this one with Donald Trump. In my opinion, it's just my opinion. When a police officer asks you to do something and it infringes on your constitutional rights, you comply until you get a lawyer so you don't get shot. That's my belief. That's the way I live. If that's a pushover, at least I'm alive. I'm just saying. 10:31. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, it is 10:31, and I'm Jay Harper with your top story. Sunshine, 81 degrees, a full forecast in a couple of minutes. High-stakes talks with China ahead of Secretary Antony Blinken's trip to Beijing tomorrow. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller telling reporters today that the U.S. did have concerns that China might provide lethal aid to Russia, but so far, there's no evidence of that.
We welcome the involvement of any country that is willing to help secure a just and lasting peace in Ukraine.
The FDA cracking down on how meats are labeled. ABC News reports that the new guidelines have to do with how the FDA categorizes grass-fed meats. The USDA says it will also evaluate companies that falsely claim their products are made without using antibiotics on their animals. This is all part of a Biden administration initiative to crack down on false or misleading food labels. That is the latest news. Weather's on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. There was a recent study by J.D. Power looking at how happy investors were with their advisors, and it wasn't pretty. What they found was only 11% of the respondents said that they were getting comprehensive financial planning, that the fees were clear, and that they felt that the advisor was acting in their best interest. Not a good picture, 11%. Now, one of the things that we do is we do comprehensive planning. We fit all of those bills, number one. But one of the things I want to talk about is in the financial planning process, what I think it ought to look like and what is available that people aren't getting. And one of the things is called probability analysis. So in essence, this is what we're talking about. We're trying to accumulate money for retirement. Put money aside, hoping that we'll have enough so that we can have income throughout retirement. And what we find is that people have Social Security, they have pensions in their financial plan, and they also have investments. Now, with their investments, we want to do something very specific that it really requires quite an academic background to do this. And this is where we look at the cost of capital of the various things that you own in your investment portfolio. It sounds scary, it sounds really detailed, but here's the idea. Is if we look at various asset classes like large stocks and small stocks and large value and bonds and so on and so forth, we know the expected return or the cost that these entities have to pay to use your money. So we can come up with an expected return of the portfolio. We can also come up with what's called standard deviation, or how much that portfolio return may deviate from the expected return. Now that's a whole other video, but what I want to do is show you how we use this. If I look at a financial plan and I say, well, you got this area, this area, this area, what I can do is I can say, well, based on when you want to retire, this is how much income you can take, and here's the likelihood of being able to have this income survive throughout your entire life. And the way it works is this. If I take a portfolio and I say, there's the expected return, I can look at history and say, well, the way your portfolio is designed, how might your one-year returns vary from the expected return, the long-term expected return? Well, what we know from academic research is that portfolios well designed and properly managed in ways that I can't get into right now, it's too complicated, portfolios actually close in an expected return, but we don't know what the short-term returns are going to be. So what we do is we project out and say, well, what if the return that happened in 1936 is followed by the return that happened in 1975, which is followed by the return in 1995, or what if it's reversed? What if they happen in different orders? And we can do 1,000 iterations, different variations on when those and how those returns may come in. And what that does is, because we can't predict the future, what return is going to follow the other, we can figure out, is it likely that we are going to be able to take the income that we need throughout retirement from this portfolio? And if not, how can we rearrange the furniture or the portfolio to give us a higher likelihood of success? And we look at life expectancies, we look at a lot of different things, but this is what is available to people that they're not getting from the financial planning community. If you want to know more, go to paulwinkler.com, set up a free 15-minute phone call, paulwinkler.com, and come in and find out more about what we do.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 10:36. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 81 degrees. It's partly sunny out there, and it's 615 day. Happy 615 day. What do you love about being in the 615? Everything, except for the traffic. That's the only thing I don't like about being in the 615. That's why the 423 might be a little bit better area, or the 931, right? You know, but yeah. But other than that, I love everything about being in the 615. All right, speaking of 615, 737-9986 is our phone number. You can also text us there, super text us, add that number. We're continue to talk about the charges against former President Donald Trump and the fight over presidential documents, whether he had the right to those documents. I say presidential documents. That's the label I'm putting it. Whether he had the right to the documents, and then when he was asked to return the documents, the game that he allegedly was playing with the investigators or those who are asking for it, could that be considered obstruction? And had he complied, would we even be here at this moment? is, I guess, all the questions, or are all the questions that we have. And so Andre has been on the line, which I've been enjoying talking to Andre. He was on in the last segment, and he is back. I told him I would not cut him off. So Andre, welcome back to the show. Sorry about that. We had to do news, but you said you had some other comments that you wanted to make.
Sure. I'm simply speaking from a lawful standpoint, not my feelings here.
Sure.
Okay?
Are you an attorney?
I'm not going to say. If I am.
I feel like you're an attorney. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. All right. What we see here is a classic example of the color of law, and I'm going to tell you why. The color of law is used in this kind of fashion is when you take the law and you twist the law to fit the elements of the case instead of the other way around. And you see this very often today where prosecutors do this, and they get away with it a lot of times. Now, when you say obstruction of justice, we're throwing these words out so loosely without really considering what it means. Okay? Justice is a method. It's a method that you use, from a jurisprudence point of view. Okay? Justice is a method that you use to punish or remedy or prevent, rather, a crime. Okay? And if you're preventing somebody to punish a crime, you have to first show that indeed there was a crime. Now, a crime, that word, a crime is based on intent or criminal negligence, all right? So criminal negligence that led to a crime. Some criminal act occurred because of that criminal negligence. Now, here we have none of that. We cannot show a crime occurred first. So if you can't show that a crime occurred, what did you obstruct? All right? Secondly,
all right. Well, can we hold on that point for a moment, if you don't mind? Okay. So I'm playing devil's advocate here. That's all.
Good.
So if Donald Trump did not believe that he committed a crime, then why did he move boxes, allegedly intending to keep some of those boxes from those who were seeking those boxes, including his own attorneys?
Okay, his excuse is he didn't really know everything that was in the boxes. He said there was a lot of stuff in there, including photographs. He's got so many photographs and other things that documents that he looked at.
So why move them?
Yeah, when he left the White House, everything was just packed in boxes.
Sure.
And he had it under strict security at Mar-a-Lago, which he says that there's no other place stricter than security as at Mar-a-Lago. So again, the intent was not to steal something. The intent was he thought it was his, that he was going to look at these things and he would declassify some of them. He felt his job as president wasn't over. And those things that he dealt with, he was still dealing with, So again, it all always boils down to intent. I've argued this so many times that you cannot show a crime. If you cannot show a crime, you cannot say the intent was to commit a crime when this crime never occurred. Or you cannot show any factors that was specifically pointing towards a crime being intended or planned to being committed.
The intent probably is it was more for him to just jack around the FBI than anything else.
Yes, Donald Trump is an advocate for constitutional rights. Do remember that. So he's showing his followers and his people, you know what, I'm not going to cave in to this accusation where there is absolute no intent, absolute no crime occurred, and I'm not going to cave into their unlawful orders, because it becomes an unlawful order when you have nothing to back up an actual crime that occurred or was intended. It's, in other words, a cop stops you in the street and he says, "Hey, where are you going?" You say, "I'm just walking." He says, "Well, looks to me like you going to do something. He doesn't have that intent. He doesn't have that crime. He's just going on his suspicion.
Sure.
And we know the court has ruled many times, the Superior Court, as SCOTUS has ruled many times. You know, suspicion is not a valid reason
Crime.
to
Yeah,
arrest
exactly.
somebody.
Yeah.
And here we looked at, he's not only arrested, he's also indicted without a proper investigation. There's no proper investigation here where they can sit down and say, you'll never hear Bill Barr say this.
Wow.
He'll never say, well, we looked at his intent and we realized that he was intending to give these documents to China or Russia or
You're
North Korea.
you're never going to find that. We know
you're not.
Donald
You're
Trump
not.
so much better than that. And Andre, thank you for your call. I'm going to have to go on
I'll
that
leave you
note.
with this one last sentence.
All right.
No crime. If there's no crime, there can be absolutely no arrest, no indictment.
Thank you, Andre.
Suspicion doesn't work.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And I love your passion. And he seems to know what he's talking about. Let's go to Stephen in the borough. Hey, Stephen.
Hey, how's it going? You know, I agree with everything he just said. Let me explain a little
He
bit
was
further
good,
why
wasn't
there
he? He
was
was
no
good, wasn't he?
He hit some great points. But first of all, you have to realize that Donald Trump is the master of free press. The master. No one is better than him. He's playing chess. Everybody else is playing
I am
checkers.
so sick
What
of
if your
hang
lawyer-
on. I am so sick of that phrase. He's playing chess
Okay, so
while
let me
hang
explain.
on, let me finish. I'm so sick of that phrase. He's playing chess while others are playing checkers. I mean, you got to come up with another phrase. That I don't know.
so let me-
I don't know in this case that he needed any free press. He was going to get all the press he needed. He didn't have to manipulate a darn thing. He was going to get press out of this. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's why there was no crime. Everyone is forgetting that he, as president, there's a special law that applies to him that doesn't apply to you or me or Hillary Clinton or anybody else that wasn't president, and that is the Presidential Records Act.
Sure.
And everyone keeps saying that it was a request for those records. Why is it a request? Because there's no legal teeth to the Presidential Records Act. It's just a request. So he didn't break the law. So what they're trying
So
to do
he
is
just said
exactly
no.
what you're
They made the request and he said
Right.
nope.
and he has that right. But here's where they're playing checkers, because they're trying to now get him under the Espionage Act, which does not apply to him. The Espionage Act did apply to Hillary Clinton because she wasn't protected under the Presidential Records Act. Under the Espionage Act, he's not committed a crime
Right.
because he's protected through the president. So your
When
previous
Mark
caller is
Levin,
correct by saying-
the previous caller's correct. Mark Levin has said that as well. I mean that's
Exactly.
that's their argument. Bill Barr is taking the other side of that argument and says that it's actually not true. So which one is right?
So-
I mean, I know what my opinion is, but the truth, which one is right? Make your final point. I'm going to have to go there, Stephen.
So if you know that up front, you know that you haven't committed a crime. You know that the National Archives have already been to Mar-a-Lago and they've already seen everything that's there, and all they told him was, let's just put an extra padlock on this door. So he was already completely compliant. And then when the people that are seething at the mouth to try and find a way to get Donald Trump come back and say, now we're going to get you under this one. If you're Donald Trump and you know that there's nothing they can do to you, why not let this play out, get all the free press, and get all the sympathy from the people who finally going to realize that it definitely is a witch hunt. If they can do this to a president, they can do this to you.
Thank you very much
So
for
in
your
my
phone
mind-
calls, Stephen. I appreciate that. I've got to go on that note. I will tell you this. Don't shoot the messenger. Somebody correct me here if I'm wrong, but the Presidential Records Act changed the legal status of presidential and vice presidential materials. And now under the PRA, the official records of the president and his staff are owned by the United States, not by the president. That's why the National Archives believes that they can request those documents back, right? I think that's the way it's supposed to be. In 1978, 4 years after President Richard Nixon's resignation, the Presidential Records Act established that presidential records belong to the U.S. government, not the president personally, and must be preserved. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Joseph.
Well, they can request to have those records back, but that's a request. It's not breaking the law. to hold on to the records that he has a right to have. So, I mean, and what you're doing is you're disrespecting the law. You're showing that you have blatant disrespect.
Me, personally?
Because every time if a news pundit or somebody tells you this is the way it should be, you're going along with that. You're kind of being wishy-washy and just going with the flow. Yes,
Me?
you are.
So I'm wishy-washy. So show me how I'm wishy-washy by telling you what Bill Barr said. I didn't tell you what my opinion. Let me finish. I didn't tell you what Bill Barr said. I mean, I'm sorry. I didn't tell you my opinion. I told you what Bill Barr said. I told you what Tom Fenton said. I told you what Mark Levin said. I'm telling you what our caller Andre said. I told you
I know how
how
you're going to flip this on me.
Okay.
I know how you're going to flip this, but
because I'm a professional flipper. I'm sorry?
Where all did Biden have records? Where all did Biden have records?
You tell me.
He had records in his garage. Did he? You know this. You know he had records in his garage, right?
I'm not saying he didn't. So what's your question, Joseph?
No. And you know that he had records stored at that college. He had records stored in his house.
And should be charged.
In like 3 or 4 different houses.
Should be charged.
Not according to you.
There's according to me. Hold on, I'm going to put you on hold because I think you're listening to somebody else on the radio. What do you mean not according to me? I have said all along, if you're going to charge Donald Trump for this, then you charge Vice President or current President Joe Biden for this. My producer, Mac, is shaking his head. He's been with me all this time that we've talked about this, Joseph. I'm only putting you on hold because we're going to a commercial break here. I have said Vice President Mike Pence should be charged. I have said if Obama had records, which they said he did, he should be charged.
You've mentioned
Hillary Clinton should be charged because she didn't even have the right to have those records at all. Joseph, if you'll hold on, we'll come back to you. I'm not cutting you off. We will come back to you so you can hold me accountable, I guess, because I'm so wishy-washy here. I'm just presenting to you all sides on this issue. That's all I'm doing for discussion. I'm WTN.
The U.S. and NATO officials meeting today on the war in Ukraine and a disturbing report on suicide in America. I'll have those stories and more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's certainly a problem in this country. Thank you, Jay. Looking forward to your newscast coming up at 11 o'clock. It is 10:58. I am Pamela Furr. Thank you for being with us today. All right, let's see. I'm a fake Christian. I'm wishy-washy. What else? What are some other labels for Sister Pamela today?
You're a fake Republican. You're a flipper. You're
professional flipper.
And your dollar store Reba.
And I am dollar store
Above all
Reba.
else, yes.
All right, let's go. Joseph is on the line because I'm being accused of cutting him off, right? I didn't. I had to go to a commercial break. So Joseph is back, and so he's going to continue to tell me how I am wishy-washy. Yes, sir.
Pamela, when you dig your heels in and you only advocate for one position, that Donald Trump is guilty, and we must admit it's true. That's not like you claim.
I didn't say that.
Taking both sides of the story.
Yeah, but
now,
I didn't say that.
This.
I want to make sure. I want to make sure this is clear. Hold on. I mean, I am going to cut you off if you're not going to let me have a conversation with you. All right, Joseph. So
if you'll allow me to say
Joseph. Joseph, I didn't say those things. Go ahead.
Okay. You said, drew the comparison to you claiming that Secretary of State Hillary Clinton withheld documents. She's Secretary of State. It's irrelevant. She's not president.
I said that.
Biden
I said that, Joseph.
He's not president. So, no, the only point I'm making here is Trump, the obstruction of justice goes to the actual FBI who's trying to get back the documents that prove they're guilty in going after Trump. That's the obstruction part right there.
They're guilty of going after Donald Trump. No kidding. Your statement's not making any sense.
So lose Anthony Weiner's laptop.
Hang on. You're saying that Donald Trump has documents at Mar-a-Lago. They're going to prove that the FBI is guilty of.
Are you saying he doesn't?
Of what?
Obstruction of justice.
No. What are they? What is it that Donald Trump has copies of that's going to prove the FBI is guilty of? What is it he has?
Well, the documents for the Crossfire hurricane.
Now I see where you're coming from. Got it, Joseph.
Specific details.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much for your phone call. 615-737-9986 is the phone number. That's what this whole thing is about. And I know that's what the accusations have been, but there's been nothing from my understanding that shows that there are any documents that President Trump has that are in reference to that investigation. I don't think. If there are, will you send me the links to the information so I can correct myself? We're running a little late. Totally on me. Sorry about that, Jay. News coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 11:02, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A mix of clouds and sun, 81 degrees. A full forecast is on the way. U.S. and NATO officials are meeting today to discuss the war in Ukraine and the aid and training that allies have been supplying. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says the U.S. has provided an additional $325 million in aid this week, and that NATO nations are providing more funding for anti-missile systems.
The United States, along with the UK, Denmark, and the Netherlands, all contributed funding for additional critical air defense missiles for Ukraine.
A new report that is quite concerning. Federal data reveals that a troubling increase in suicide rates among youth and young adults is occurring in the U.S. Here's Dave Packer.
Over the past 2 decades, the suicide rate for young people aged 10 to 24 has been steadily rising. Rates held steady at just under 7 per 100,000 until about 2007 or 2008. But starting in 2011, the rate saw a significant 60% surge, reaching 11 per 100,000 in 2021. Experts point to multiple factors such as stress, social media addiction, and the impact of the pandemic. The findings coincide with recent studies showing a rise in suicidal thoughts among young people. Addressing the crisis, experts emphasize the importance of early screening for mental health issues and increased support in schools and primary care.
A rather strange quote-unquote death investigation near Houston was over before it started. Here's Jim Ryan to explain.
The photos are gruesome. The body of a woman dressed only in underwear found in a bag in a wooded area. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez tweeted that, quote, foul play is suspected. But the first detectives who fully opened the bag noticed that there was no smell. It turned out to be an anatomically correct and very lifelike plastic silicone replica of a female, a sex doll. Sheriff Gonzalez's next tweet put it succinctly. False call on this one.
That is the latest news. Weather's on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
It is 11:06. I am Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad to have you on board today on Thursday. It is Thursday. Hallelujah. It is Thursday. That means tomorrow is what? Children? Friday. Woo! And then the weekend is here. It's oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Freak Out Friday will be tomorrow. Thank you for the reminder. Yes, indeed. That'll be a lot of fun. And so any of those that want to call out Sister Pamela on Freak Out Friday are more than welcome to do that tomorrow. Actually, you can do that today. I want to make sure that I am clear, because apparently I'm not being clear to some folks. Do I believe that Donald Trump deserves any of the charges that he has now been faced with in a federal courtroom? The answer is No. Do I believe at any given point in time did Donald Trump intend to do anything with any kind of documents that he had to give them, to show them to our enemies? Any plans we may have had for attack, any plans we may have had for whatever, any Defense Department documents that he may or may not have had, whatever. Do I believe he intended to do anything that would help the enemy? The answer, of course, is absolutely not. So if you are talking about, I'm not an attorney. We had someone who called earlier that I feel like 100% was an attorney, but regardless, he kept talking about intent. And that's one of the things that I've talked to with different friends of mine and what have you. It was to show intent here is going to take a lot of effort on behalf of the government, the Justice Department, when you're talking about Donald Trump. Did he intend to do harm with the documents that he had? And the answer is, of course not. We all know that. This is nothing but the Justice Department being weaponized against Donald Trump. Now, I have said, and I'm not being wishy-washy, but I have said, had Donald Trump not played a little game here, we might not be in this position. But I think that there have been some atrocities against Donald Trump, raiding Mar-a-Lago, for crying out loud. I mean, maybe they could have come to some conclusion with some of the documents that they wanted to get a hold of. Maybe some quicker, less delays. But I also think that the grand jury compelled one of Donald Trump's attorneys to speak about Donald Trump, and there may have been attorney-client privilege that have been breached here. So that is an atrocity when you're talking about the President of the United States here, who is trying to prove time and time again that he's not doing anything wrong. He's trying to serve the American people. Do I think his ego gets in the way sometimes? I do, 100%. But it doesn't mean that I think he's done anything wrong that rises to the criminal nature or rises to federal charges or, for crying out loud, rises to espionage charges. I hope I'm being clear here. There's no wishy-washiness here. There is Pamela trying to ask all the questions. There's Pamela trying to present to you Bill Barr's side, other people's side, what they're saying about Trump, how we're talking about this. And meantime, what's being distracted, the idea that we have a president in the White House now who is guilty, in my opinion, of more egregious things when it comes to the United States of America. More egregious things than just documents, presidential records. And at the time with the vice president having records that he was not entitled to have in his garage or at his university or at his house or at his beach house or wherever. He wasn't entitled to those. We're not paying attention to what is happening with the House Oversight Committee and the investigation going on with the Biden crime family. We're distracted because now Donald Trump is being indicted or has been indicted. There are bigger things going on in this world. It's interesting conversation for me, but I don't think Donald Trump is guilty of doing anything to harm this country. And as I've said over and over again, I think that the Justice Department more or less handed Donald Trump the nomination once again for the Republican Party for President of the United States. I 100% believe that the more they come after him, the more not only his base is rallied, but those who were on the fence thinking, I don't know that I can do it again, see what kind of weaponization has happened with the Justice Department here in this country. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Mark, who's on the line on WTN. How you doing, sir?
Okay, how are you?
I'm fine.
That's good. I would think this would all go away if he would just go play golf. I think they'd forget about everything if
Well,
he
he's
wouldn't
been
run for
he's been
president.
playing golf.
No. I mean, stop running for president and just go play golf. I'd say, they forget all about this. He hasn't done anything close to what Biden's doing. I mean, it's
He
totally.
hasn't. Okay, so you want Donald Trump not to run for president? Is that what you're saying?
No, I want him to run, but the Democrats don't want him to run.
Agreed.
And if he would stop running for president, they would say, okay, good. We don't have to press charges.
Yeah, you're right. They'd throw their hands up in the air and say, mission accomplished. Yeah.
Right, we won.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate your phone call. Let's go to Trent, who's on the line. Hey, Trent, welcome to WTN.
Thank you. I think this is bigger than what you make it out to be. People going back and forth about the documents. Did he do something wrong? Did he do nothing wrong? Let's look at the big picture. Ever since Donald Trump put his name in the hat to run for president, the left and the government and the media have been intent to destroy him. All of his friends, Roger Stone, Papadopoulos, anybody, Michael Flynn, anybody connected with Trump has been destroyed. And they want to destroy this man, and they want to send a message to any other Donald Trumps that's coming after him. Don't you dare think about coming in and messing up what we have going on. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. It's in either you're inside Washington guy or you're not. And no matter what Donald Trump does or doesn't do, they're going to destroy him, and they're going to do anything they can to keep him running from president.
Oh, they're going to try. They're going to try. I don't know that they're going to accomplish it.
Well, there are a lot of forces lined up against them. All of the media, except maybe one or two outlets of the media, all of the government, the intelligence agencies, Chuck Schumer said it himself, that the intelligence agencies have six ways to Sunday to destroy you if you cross them. And they've proven that they can.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate your phone call. The good news is, here, if I can take this to a good news side, again, look at the polling. Can you say that Donald Trump is being destroyed if he is still favored to be president of the United States? If he's favored to be the nominee for president of the United States for the Republican Party, have they destroyed him? No, he's still fighting. So take comfort in that. By the way, this really hacks me off. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there was a measure by a freshman Republican to fine Adam Schiff $16 million for promoting the now debunked narrative that Donald Trump worked with Russia to influence the 2016 presidential election. The Russia hoax. So she tried to bring this to the House floor yesterday, and it failed. A freshman Republican, Anna Paulina Luna, and I think we've talked about her before on this show. She's a 34-year-old lawmaker from Florida, and Tuesday she said she was bringing forward the censure resolution against Adam Schiff of California. Shifty Schiff. She accused the Democratic congressman, who is now running for Senate, by the way, of spouting a conspiracy theory about Donald Trump's ties to Russia. It was 100% a conspiracy theory. The allegation that President Trump colluded with Russia to steal the 2016 presidential election has been revealed as false by numerous in-depth investigations. And it all started, Adam Schiff was the face of the whole thing. Lied to the American people about it, lied to Congress about it. She goes on to say, the conspiracy theory was invented, funded, and spread by President Trump's political rivals, saying the fine would amount to half of the cost to taxpayers of the Russian probes. So if that's half, $32 million it cost the tax people The tax people, the taxpayers. I guess we're tax people too. The taxpayers of America. Luna also said Schiff enjoyed and abused the special access he got to sensitive information unavailable to most members of Congress as the chair of the Intelligence Committee. She also pointed to the recently published John Durham report that trashed the FBI investigation into all these claims. Durham, of course, said investigators had placed too much emphasis on unverified intelligence compiled by Christopher Steele. Luna goes on to slam the dossier as being full of debunked debunked collusion accusations. Of course, Schiff says the move was to distract from Trump's indictment and retaliate against him for impeaching Donald Trump. You damn right it was. You damn right it was. He said on Twitter, he wrote on Twitter, "I'm not backing down. This isn't going to stop me from standing up for our democracy." What? Standing up for democracy with lies? With falsehoods? With bovine scatology? Here's the bad part to all of this. The measure failed. This is what kills me. In a Republican-led House of Representatives, the measure failed to censor Adam Schiff. 20 Republicans voted to kill the resolution. 20 Republicans voted to kill the resolution. Why? Now, maybe it was because of the $16 million price tag to it that they wanted to fine him. Maybe you can come back with an amendment if you want to take that price tag off. But it should be a congressional record that he participated in the lies that have now been debunked. Not only did he actively participate, but he himself propagated, made up, lied to the American people about this particular situation. Do you want to? I'm going to give you the list because I'm not sure you're going to hear it from anybody else. One quick second and then we'll take a break. Here are the 20 Republicans who voted to kill the resolution. You ready? And here's what's really good about this. There are no Tennesseans on this list. Thank God for that. But you've got Kelly Armstrong from North Dakota, Lori Chavez DeRemer from Oregon, Juan Siskakami, from Arizona, Tom Cole, Oklahoma, Warren Davidson from Ohio, Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, Kate Granger from Texas, Garrett Graves from Louisiana, Thomas Keene Jr. from New Jersey, Kevin Kiley from California, Young Kim from California, Michael Lawler from New York, Tommy Massey from New York, Tom McClintock from California. I'm seeing a lot of California and New Yorks in here, even though they're Republicans. Mark Molinaro from New York, Jay Abernathy from California, Michael Simpson from Idaho, Michael Turner from Ohio, David Villado, I think is how he says his name, from California, and Steve Womack from Arkansas. Is that one Southerner? No, you've got a Kentucky, if you can consider Kentucky the South. Oh, I just ticked off a lot of Kentuckians. Yeah, that's your list of Republicans who voted against this measure. For shame, for shame. You had an opportunity to censor the guy and you didn't. I hope they bring this back up. I hope they tweak it in a way that these Republicans and others can get on board with showing Adam Schiff that you can't get away with BS in Congress anymore. It's 11:21. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 615-737-9986. You can call, you can super text as well.
The U.S. and NATO officials meeting today on the war in Ukraine, and a Metro Council meeting took place last night to explore safety measures in Nashville schools. We'll fill you in. That's coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 11:26. I am Pamela Furr with you today. Glad to have you on board. I am certainly interested in all your super text messages. Getting called fake Christian again today, and I'm not sure why. What did I do that was fake Christian today? I'm not really sure about that one. Also, I'm seeing that some of the Republicans have said that they are going to redo the censure resolution sometime next week. But I don't know that they're going to remove the fine or not. So I don't know what part was egregious to those 20 Republicans when we're talking about Adam Schiff here. But that's the news that I have. $16 million, nowhere enough. That is 0272 on the super text line. Pamela, I call Adam Schiff old Schiff for brains. That's 2824 making that comment. So there you go. Just lots of information there coming in when it comes to Adam Schiff and comments from our super texters. This is funny to me. Let's talk about this story real quick before we head to the news. And I think it's hilarious. Now, I worked in television for a while. You may or may not know I worked at Channel 4 for a couple of years. I was an assignment editor, so I got to assign stories to the reporters there at Channel 4. I loved that job. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I got to learn how the TV biz works, at least the local TV biz works. And you have producers behind the scenes. You have your producer, then your associate producer, and then you have your reporters, and you have your editors, and you have your, just a whole list of people to get just a 1 hour newscast takes an entire team to get that 1 hour newscast together. And then if you're doing another hour, then it's a whole separate team, all this. So a lot of stuff goes into this, but you have somebody that puts up what we call the slugs, right? The information that you see on your screen underneath the photos. Well, apparently, Fox News actually put up something underneath the photos on the screen, on the Chiron, I guess is what it's technically called, in front of Joe Biden's photo that says wannabe dictator speaks at the White House after having his political rival arrested. Now, that's pretty funny. And it's pretty accurate, isn't it? But I believe a producer may have gone a little awry. So here's a story that I'll tell you, and it's been a long time now, and I'm not getting anybody in trouble. And the anchor that this happened to at Channel 4 is no longer there. So, and I have to be honest with you, I don't even remember his name, to be honest with you. So, President George W. Bush was coming to Fort Campbell to speak to the soldiers, right? And this particular producer, who is not there anymore either, was not exactly a fan of George W. Bush. So when you write scripts for your anchor's supposed to read those ahead of time, but sometimes it doesn't always happen because you're in the middle of breaking news or what have you. So this producer put a space holder for the script. He was going to write an introduction. Now, ladies and gentlemen, George W. Bush comes to the podium. Let's listen live, whatever. He put a holder and instead called George W. Bush some names that you can't really say on the air, right?
Oh, no.
But just as the holder.
Yeah.
And so he forgot to take it out. And so as the anchor is about to go on the air, he begins to read this and he stops himself before saying before he pulls a Ron Burgundy.
I was about to say, yeah.
Reading the script as it, Ron Burgundy? Yeah, so, and this anchor was as soon as they were off the air, This anchor is running down the hall and screaming at this producer for putting him in a situation where he almost read exactly what was on the screen. And truthfully, the producer was like, oh my God, I can't believe I left that in there. So it was all innocent and all very unprofessional all at the same time. So anyway, that happened with Fox News yesterday, which is kind of funny, kind of true, kind of, you know. Anyway, it is 11:31. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 11:31, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Clouds and sun, 83 degrees. A complete weather forecast in a couple of minutes. U.S. and NATO officials are meeting today to discuss the war in Ukraine and the aid and training that allies have been supplying. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Mark Milley, says that billions of dollars of additional aid is going to Ukraine.
This package procures critical capabilities, including Patriot munitions, Hawk air defense systems, artillery, rocket munitions, maintenance, sustainment support, and much more.
On Wednesday, Metro Nashville leaders gathered for the first of 3 meetings scheduled this month to propose ways to keep Nashville's students safer in the wake of the Covenant School shooting. During the meeting, the issue of SRO officers and special video cameras were discussed, and Nashville Director of Public Schools, Dr. Adrienne Battle, requested more funding for shatter-resistant film to help protect school windows.
While there are a few practical levels of security that can completely stop someone with a weapon of war from gaining access to our buildings, we can make it more difficult and buy time for our staff to implement safety protocols and for the police to respond. Shatter-resistant film that can be added to our schools may help us do just that.
That is the latest news. Weather's on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. There was a recent study by J.D. Power looking at how happy investors were with their advisors, and it wasn't pretty. What they found was only 11% of the respondents said that they were getting comprehensive financial planning, that the fees were clear, and that they felt that the advisor was acting in their best interest. Not a good picture, 11%. Now, one of the things that we do is we do comprehensive planning. We fit all of those bills, number one. But one of the things I want to talk about is in the financial planning process, what I think it ought to look like and what is available that people aren't getting. And one of the things is called probability analysis. So in essence, this is what we're talking about. We're trying to accumulate money for retirement. Put money aside, hoping that we'll have enough so that we can have income throughout retirement. And what we find is that people have Social Security, they have pensions in their financial plan, and they also have investments. Now, with their investments, we want to do something very specific that it really requires quite an academic background to do this. And this is where we look at the cost of capital of the various things that you own in your investment portfolio. It sounds scary, it sounds really detailed, but here's the idea. Is if we look at various asset classes like large stocks and small stocks and large value and bonds and so on and so forth, we know the expected return or the cost that these entities have to pay to use your money. So we can come up with an expected return of the portfolio. We can also come up with what's called standard deviation, or how much that portfolio return may deviate from the expected return. Now that's a whole other video, but what I want to do is show you how we use this. If I look at a financial plan and I say, well, you got this area, this area, this area, what I can do is I can say, well, based on when you want to retire, this is how much income you can take, and here's the likelihood of being able to have this income survive throughout your entire life. And the way it works is this. If I take a portfolio and I say, there's the expected return, I can look at history and say, well, the way your portfolio is designed, how might your one-year returns vary from the expected return, the long-term expected return? Well, what we know from academic research is that portfolios well designed and properly managed in ways that I can't get into right now, it's too complicated. Portfolios actually close in an expected return, but we don't know what the short-term returns are going to be. So what we do is we project out and say, well, what if the return that happened in 1936 is followed by the return that happened in 1975, which is followed by the return in 1995, or what if it's reversed? What if they happen in different orders? And we can do 1,000 iterations, different variations on when those and how those returns may come in. And what that does is, because we can't predict the future, what return's going to follow the other, we can figure out, is it likely that we are going to be able to take the income that we need throughout retirement from this portfolio? And if not, how can we rearrange the furniture or the portfolio to give us a higher likelihood of success? And we look at life expectancies, we look at a lot of different things, but this is what is available to people that they're not getting from the financial planning community. If you want to know more, go to paulwinkler.com, set up a free 15-minute phone call, paulwinkler.com, and come in and find out more about what we do.
Hey, it's Pamela Furr. If you're wanting to be financially prepared for the future, for the AI apocalypse or the zombie apocalypse that I've talked about, I want to tell you about who I trust to invest my money. Truthfully, for any kind of situation in the future, you want to be prepared for it? Call my financial advisor and coach, Paul Winkler. He and his team really helped me out with all the investing and financial decisions I've had to make. And I know his team can help you make sense of investing and retirement planning. It's also important to me that they're a fiduciary, which is just a fancy way of saying they must act in your best interest. And because of that, I'm required to tell you I'm paid to say nice things about Paul, which can create a conflict of interest. But here's the deal. I am indeed a current client of Paul Winkler and his team, and I was a client of Paul's before I was asked to do this commercial. So that should show you how strongly I believe in their approach. I 100% do, and I'm asking you to do what I did. Set up a free 15-minute phone call. See how they can help you. I felt so much better after working with them, and I'm confident that you will too. So go to paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or just call 615-851-1950. 1138 615-737-9986 is the telephone number. We got off into conversations with some of you today, so I have not been able to talk about this story yet. I've been wanting to all morning. House Republicans yesterday inched closer toward impeaching Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, officially launching an investigation that would serve as the basis for any kind of injury on this. I have some audio. In fact, the person that is heading this up is Tennessee Congressman Mark Green. He had a hearing yesterday, actually, about this, and then he held a press conference as well. I want you to hear some from that press conference yesterday.
Today marks the birthday of the United States Army. I gave 24 years of my life as service as an Army officer, and I know what dereliction of duty looks like. Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has been willfully derelict in his duties as Secretary of Homeland Security. He has disregarded his oath to the Constitution by ignoring the basic tenets of that Constitution. The disaster at our southern border did not happen because of weather anomalies, changes in the governments of 160 different countries, a sudden decrease in the resources of Border Patrol, a sudden decrease in the budget of Homeland Security, or changes to the immigration laws of the United States. The massive millions upon millions of people have crossed our southern border because the Secretary of Homeland Security removed 89 policies from 2 previous administrations. The cause is simple. Migrants tested the system, they called home, and millions came because of the Secretary's catch and release policies. No detention, immediate parole. And the drug cartels seized on the opportunity. They profit from using people who've paid them, to overwhelm the Border Patrol, to sneak fentanyl into our country. You can't make an intellectual argument for anything but that. And the effect on our nation has been devastating. 6.2 million encounters between our northern and southern border. 1.5 million gotaways. Criminal aliens released into the United States. Murderers released into the United States. Rapists released into the United States. And the list goes on. And I'm not even talking about the composition of the 1.5 million gotaways whom we know nothing about and who intentionally avoided being caught and released into our country. 107,000 dead Americans in 1 year alone to narcotics, fentanyl, etc., pouring across our southern border. Alejandro Mayorkas' policies are the cause of all of this. Unfortunately, it gets worse. Today, the United States Congress, under the leadership of Speaker Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans, myself as chairman of the Committee of Homeland Security, and the members of our committee, begin a 5-phase deep dive into the causes and Secretary Mayorkas' orchestration of this tragedy. We have provided a document that details the topics of the 5 phases and provides a small glimpse into what we will be looking into in phase 1, the dereliction of duty phase.
All right, and I'll just interrupt there because it goes on for another 20 minutes or so. They are doing their homework. Is this not impressive? And I don't know how you can disagree with one thing that Mark Green is saying here. At the border comes a slew of problems for this country and for the American people. How Alejandro Mayorkas sleeps at night is beyond me. Dereliction of duty is a great charge, if you will. And as they continue to investigate and make their case for that, I don't know how the House of Representatives could not bring impeachment charges against him. I think that's part of the other point Andy Oakles was making on at least Kamala Harris, that she is guilty of her dereliction of duty at the border as well, being named border czar and what have you. So we must continue to watch what happens in the Homeland Security Committee there in the House of Representatives with the chair of that committee, our own Congressman Mark Green. Yet, by the way, no member of the mainstream media seems to be talking about this. I think Fox News has brought it up. I think Fox News has. I think that there have been organizations like The Hill that may have printed the story from Mark Green, but it hasn't gotten much traction at all. Not on the mainstream media side. They're too busy focused on Donald Trump and his indictment. They're too busy involved in the back and forth of whether these charges are valid or not on Donald Trump. Yet another distraction about what's really going on in our country right now. Does it affect the American people in any way, shape, or form, these 37 charges against Donald Trump? I mean, does it affect your bottom line or mine? No, it does not. It's a distraction for them. It's a weaponization of the Justice Department as we continue to talk about. What affects our bottom line? When you have illegals crossing the border who have no vested interest in the success of this country. Their only vested interest is in drugs. As Mark Green said a moment ago, you've got rapists and murderers crossing the border. You have gotaways. What about those who get behind? I mean, it has happened so many times. It's even happened here in Davidson County, where you have an illegal behind the wheel of a car who ends up hitting and killing someone. Had they not crossed the border, it would have never happened. What about the illegals who rape and kill daughters and sons in this country? Had they not crossed the border, it never would have happened. That affects our bottom line. What about what's happening on our systems there at the border in cities, in border towns, in Texas, in Arizona, and New Mexico, in Florida even? I mean, we can go on down the list. We all are a border state at this point with as many people coming across the border. We've talked about it a gazillion times. The pressure now on the systems and the infrastructure that they have in those states there at the border. They can't handle all of these citizens coming across the border, so they're busing them to other places, to other sanctuary cities. Whose fault is all of this? Alejandro Mayorkas, whose sole job, whose sole mission is to protect our homeland, right? Thus the title, Homeland Secretary. And he's failing, colossally failing. And his head is in the sand, denying any kind of failure. And yet people keep dying from fentanyl overdoses. People keep dying at the hands of illegals in this country. So let's keep watching this. Bravo, Mark Green, for your efforts and your announcement yesterday. Let's continue to watch what happens in the dereliction of duty case against Homeland Secretary Mayorkas. It is 11:48. When we come back, I believe Matt Murphy will be in here to talk about what's coming up at 12:05. I haven't seen him. Have you seen him?
Either, and I'm seeing on the chat, and I may have just missed this in his show. He might be off today. It might be Cameron Smith. I'm going to get word on that.
Oh, I did not know that either. But I haven't seen Matt Murphy, so maybe it is. Who knows? But more to come when we come back on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I say that. Now I'm talking off the air to Matt. I say that, but your plan may be different than my plan. Sweet.
What are you doing in there?
What's up?
I said hi and nothing.
Oh, you said hello to me?
No, I said hi to Pamela and my mic was on.
Oh.
It's 11:54. We are back. Thank you for being with us today on Super Talk 99.7 WTN on the Super Talk TV. Hey, people are talking about our flags, Matt Murphy.
I like those flags.
You can see them on our Super Talk TV.
They look so good.
They really do look good. I like them.
Makes me want to say the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of every show.
Or you want me to sing? Oh, you want me to sing it?
Oh,
wow. Yeah, don't sing.
Start lower than you think. If you ever have to sing that song.
No, definitely.
Start lower than you think you have to because you're going to get up there.
As an alto, that's not difficult for me. All right, well, what do you have coming up on the show today? It's been a lively show with me.
It has.
Been a and I haven't caught a lot of it, but I heard a little about not artificial intelligence, alien intelligence.
Alien intelligence,
and
yes.
we are, I'm going to further a little bit of that conversation. I hate to be the guy that, I hate to be this. Are you
going to call me out, are you?
No, I'm not calling you. I'm not calling anybody out. Well, okay, maybe I am. Stop. Just.
With what?
There's no
aliens? No, I'm not worried about the aliens.
Nobody in the government has alien craft. None of this is.
I don't know about that.
I
don't know about that.
Aliens developed a technology with the ability to travel millions of light years through space, but they can't manage to land their plane.
Well, they didn't account for clouds, I guess, or rain, or I don't know. Here is what I know.
The Canadian wildfires, okay?
There's something out there. Yeah, they didn't account for the Canadian wildfires.
I think they're getting distracted by Vegas, and that's why they crash in the desert.
But artificial intelligence, however, that is what keeps me up at night. That's what concerns me about our future. That the second this becomes self-aware, we're screwed.
That's another thing, dime store Reba.
No, dollar store.
No, I'm degrading you to dime store. I'm downgrading you. I'm downgrading you from dollar store to dime store Reba. I don't understand what we would do. Like, we're going to give the computers like access to the codes and just expect, hey, here's the nuclear codes, but don't do anything with these. And then eventually the computer's going to be like, well, screw that.
No, I don't think that is the way it works. But don't ask me. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get prepared for the apocalypse. And then whatever happens, I'll still have food to eat.
I think, 25 years shelf life. That's what I hear on the radio. Who would want to eat that? We tried some of that stuff on the air one time. We got a sample.
It depends on who you're getting it from, and I don't want to use any names at all because I don't know who's advertising.
Right.
Yes, so I've tasted some that is pretty good, and I've tasted some that's really pretty bad. It's really pretty terrible.
Anything that can sit on a shelf of a basement for 25 years is probably not going to taste great.
But see, then again, Grandma's canning always works. So if you get a jar of tomatoes that's been there for 10 years, it's still good.
I found some of my grandma's figs out in her one of her outbuildings.
Yeah.
When I was cleaning out their place when my grandpa died. I did.
And? It was bad?
I threw it away.
It's terrible?
I started to, but I decided against it. It did not smell like it was bad. Figs.
Yeah.
Fig preserves or preserved figs.
Yeah. So you should have tried it.
It'd probably been on that shelf for 20 years.
But if it didn't open up and rotted,
and when AI takes over our lives and we have to bunker,
then you might not have a choice. That might be all you have to eat.
I don't think we've I don't think we've thought this through, though.
What do you mean?
What if on the alien planet, they developed AI. AI took over and flew the planes here, and that's why they're
crashing. Because computer, any kind of technology will fail you at some point, right? Maybe. I don't know, man. What's coming up on your show in less than 30
I have
seconds?
a little bit of intel on the special session that I'm going to share as much as I can.
Oh, there's
the potential of the special
today.
section, and there's an election,
Yes,
right?
Justin Jones. All right, cool.
So
we'll talk about
we'll
that.
do a little bit of that, and a special guest on Donald Trump indictment.
Excellent. All right, see you tomorrow on Freak Out Friday on WTN.
Freak out.